Hi, today I want to try and address the third video I'm doing on crack cocaine or cocaine. It doesn't really matter, people sort of say, oh well, do on coke or do on crack, but they're the same, they're kissing cousins, and just one's quicker addiction than the other, but they're both the same sort of patterns evolve, and that's what I wanted to deal with today, was patterns of recovery. After I've worked with about 2,000 crack cocaine users, stimulant users over the years, and over time you start to see a pattern evolve in their recovery and where they mess up. So I want to try today and address that, so that this is Christmas Eve, so hopefully by next year no one's got any excuse to be staying on any stimulants or any drug, really, because this recovery process is probably the same for other drugs, other addictions, but I'm just dealing with crack cocaine today. So as I say, there's 5 stages. The first stage, in a sense, is the hardest, but in another sense it's not the hardest, because it's the hardest in that the first stage is full of cravings, and the cravings are really strong and they're nagging you, and you're feeling all the dizziness and everything. And the thing is, the beautiful thing is, it doesn't matter how bad the cravings are, they only last for 1 month. And there's herbs that I talk about on my first video, part 1, in Stop Using Crack Cocaine and Reclaim Your Life, on YouTube, and I talk about herbs that you can use, Louise Clarke, which I'll write on here, and they help reduce the craving, stabilise the body, detox the body, and so forth. So the first stage is stage 1, and that lasts a month, and the main concern at that stage is the reducing the cravings. And it can be done with the herbs, and I talk about that also in my book, which you can buy, and then I cover all this in very simple details. I'll put a link to it at the end and on the information at the bottom. So there's only about £5, £6 online. It's print on demand, so I don't really stock them, but you can buy them and they'll come quite quickly to you. I've written very simply in this book so that I know your concentration is sort of low, so I've written very short sentences, very short paragraphs that you can just go into any section to look at things, and it's a very good book. It's the only book in the world to help crack users self-help themselves, so it's all you've got to choose from. But yes, I do know my stuff, so hopefully you can purchase that book, or someone might buy it for Christmas for you. So that's the first stage, is the cravings. The thing is, people have got ideas of addiction as like, oh, you've got to have it every day. And these addictions are built out of propaganda that were put out about heroin users and their physical addiction. So they have to have it every day. And so when people see they don't have to have the drug every day, they think, I'm not addicted because I don't have it every day. But that is a fallacy, really. And even the heroin addicts, it's not really the physical side. I mean, you can detox a heroin addict, but it's the mental side. 90% of it is the mental. The whole mind is set to use. So this could help them too, because crack, cocaine, stimulants, they're total mental. They're not really a physical. You don't get physical withdrawals. You might get cravings, but you don't get physical withdrawals. So therefore, we've got to get rid of the cravings, which we can do through using the herbs. Also, you can reduce the cravings by doing exercise, physical exercise, 20 minutes, and that will feed into the brain that's got used to having lots of dopamine from the drug. So now you're going to feed it naturally. By doing physical exercise, you actually release dopamine naturally, although not in the same quantities, but naturally. So that will, where the brain has got used to having the drugs to cope with life, when it starts reducing in the brain, then by doing physical exercise you're sort of topping up the dopamine again to the brain, and so you're sort of satisfying it for a while. Also sometimes it's money can be a problem, because it's a mental drug, and so it will nag you. If you've got money in your pocket, then it'll say, oh yeah, you could go and buy me just one little rock. So it's good if you can. If you've got someone that can look after your money, then let someone look after it for you through this stage. If you've got a bank account or anything, if you can put it somewhere where you have to think in the process to tell yourself, what the hell am I doing going and spending my money again on this drug? So it's dealing with cravings, getting rid of the money out of the way to reduce the risk of it happening. It reduces the nagging. There's no point in nagging if the money's not there. And you've got to come away from the users, really, because they're going to be a bit bothered and offer you some. Plan your time, because the thing is, you're a high achiever, and therefore, what you're going to do with yourself once you've stopped, you'll be bored stupid. So you have to plan your time. You have to make sure that you're not going to become bored. Your concentration's not great, but brainstorm while you're in a sort of positive mode of all the things that you used to like, enjoy doing, because when you're in a negative, it's like, no, I don't like nothing. So when you're in a positive, brainstorm all the things you like to do, all the things you used to like to do, even if you don't now, what exercises you like to do, what sport. You're always sports people because you're high achievers, so you've always had a sport. Get back into that sport again, maybe try a new sport. So we're talking about only 4 weeks, that's all. 4 weeks the first stage, and after that stage you won't be craving no more, which sounds great, and it's true. But it's 2 years to recover. So even though you stop the cravings after a month, you've got 2 years, but not 2 years of hell, but you do have to recognise that it's 2 years to recover. And this is where people mess up, because they go into rehab for 3 months. They do the first month, that's the hardest. And then the next 2 months, it's like piss. So they think, that's it, I'm clean. And they come out and they use. Because the next stage, well, is 2 to 3 months, which you might have in a rehab. We probably would. And that is where you wake up and you've dreamt that you was just about to use. You've got it all lined up, if it's coke, or you set up your pipe, and then you're just about to use and you wake up. And therefore, whole of your body is physically ready to use, and you haven't got any, but you pick up the phone and phone. So you've got to put the phone out of reach, put the money out of reach, because when that happens, you wake up, the dream you're just about to use, you need to calm yourself, say, right, this is the dream that we knew was going to, everyone has the same sort of dream. It's crazy, it's the same dream. So this is at 2 to 3 months, and really it's where the drug has tried to get you in the first stage, and it's not achieved it with cravings in a conscious self, so it's coming subliminally, it's coming in your sleep, and it's like, right, now, ready? And then you wake up and then you're craving. So that's the drug's hope, because the drug's a little bit like a demon, got a little personality of itself, and it wants to keep you hooked, like, it doesn't want you to get away, but it let you try. There's also a sugar issue, because the drug increases the sugar levels. When you stop using, the body is not used to this change in sugar levels, so you'll start craving lots of sugar in your tea, and you'll put on weight because you'll start eating maybe. Don't be concerned with like how much sugar you're taking, how much you're eating, because you're probably underweight anyway. This will level out in the end. It will readjust itself. The body sort of takes about 2 weeks on average to adjust itself to all the sort of physical changes. So don't worry about the sugar cravings. They will reduce. Even in, a lot of people have 6 sugars, but after a few months they won't. They just have normal amount of sugar. So if you need sugar, if you desire sugar, have the sugar, because it's better to have the sugar than the drug. Now, so the stage 2 is when you have the dreams. So expect them, hide the money, hide the equipment, just do everything you can to sort of reduce the chances of you using. And then the third stage is where it's at 3 months, which is when everyone comes out of the rehab. And funny enough, at first stage is when it's like as if the drug recognises, I'm not going to get you consciously, I'm not going to get you subconsciously with dreams. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till you feel so great about yourself and you feel like you've conquered everything, and then you will be on with your life feeling you're in the clear, and then I'll tempt you. I'll send a dealer to you. I mean, this is drugs, that's how it works. There's a dealer will turn up and let you have it free, let you have it cheap, you might bump into another user, and And so what happens is temptation is sent your way. And it's hoping, the drug's hoping that at that third stage that you're going to fall to the temptation. And because your guard's no longer up, because you're sort of 3 months clear, you're not thinking, you're thinking you're bigger than the drug. You're not. Even though it's tiny weeny little rock or little tiny line, you're not bigger than that. It's connected to so many other things in a sort of metaphysical way. So don't be getting overconfident, although you will. But I'm just telling you, when you get overconfident, do not be going and sitting with the dealers and the users or being anywhere in that environment. I mean, if you need to go to the shops all the way through and there's all dealers down that road, to go round the houses. Do not go to where the dealers are. If it was the police, you would go a long way round. So go the long way round, and then you increase your chances of not going back to the drug. So all these stages that I'm saying here are all in my book that I showed you at the beginning. But I want to say, for those who ain't got access to the internet to order the book, or haven't got the book or whatever, or you want to buy the book, so you're on stage 3, 3 months clean, but obviously the drug's been waiting, no more craving, no more dreams, feel great, can't believe you did it. Feel like you'll never use again. And there you go then. That's where people mess up. So don't get overconfident when you've done 3 months clean, because it's nothing. You've got 2 years before you can say, I'm clean. There, you let down your guard and take risks is what I've put here. And have a false sense of security. Now, then what happens is at this stage, you see, because the ego is such a terrible thing in all this, because the ego will have you, I've conquered the most complicated drug, the most hardest drug to get off in the world. I got it going on. And so then what happens is you go and sit around your friends to see, look, I could sit around my friends and they could use and I wouldn't even care. And you do that. And people go around their friends and they go, I went around my friends, I didn't use. And it gives them a sense of, it's that ego stroking again, because it's like, I was able to sit with all those drugs and I didn't use. And I'd be like, don't do it again. And then if you do it, you can do it. I've seen people do it once, I've seen people do it twice. On the third time, the drug's got you. Because you can't let the ego rule you like that. You have to say, I don't want no more to do drugs. I don't need to show off that I can sit with users and not use. So don't be going around and showing off. And if you do, don't be making a habit of it, because you'll only do it 3 times and then you will mess up, is what I've seen. Now, stage 4 is 8 to 9 months. Because what happens is, if it can't get you at 3 months, it's like the drug's like, go on then, you can do without me. And it lets you go on and build your whole life, which you've built, because now you've not got a drug holding you back and you're high achievers, so you're achieving well. And what happens is it waits to about 8 and 9 months. And then it's like, love a little test. Would you like to go around your friends? You want to go to a party where they're all snorting coke and all that? All these ideas come, all these little opportunities come at 8 and 9 months. And this is where, again, people are so complacent, because they're like, oh, that's so far in the past, and I conquered it, I conquered the hardest drug, so I can have a little line, I can have a little pipe, I can have a little. No, you can't, right? Because else it's like, gotcha. And it doesn't really matter. It's like you could be on crack and then get off crack and be like, oh, it's only coke. Or you could be on coke. But it's like they're cousins, really. It's just one stronger than the other. They both lead you the same place, the same pathway. It's just one's faster than the other, but they both go in the same way. So you've got a lot of people on oh, it's not crack, cracks are different. No, not really, right? And then that's at 8 to 9 months. And then if you don't mess up then stage 5 is 18 months to 2 years. And really it tests you again. It's as if like, right, you really think you're in the clear now. So now I can really just sneak up and offer you, and you're gonna take. And this is the patterns that I've seen over the years. So it seems to follow. Now the thing is, I want to make it clear as well that there's relapse and there's lapse, because as well they'll be like, oh, they relapsed. But it's not. Relapse is when you've gone back completely to the way you had always been using. Where a lapse is when you messed up. So along these stages, you might then go, like, say you've done clean for 2 months, and then you have a dream, and then you use, and it's, now I'm back to the beginning again. No, you're not. If you go and use, don't do it. But if you went to use and you had a rock or you had a session and then you didn't go back, you say, right, I'm not going back to do it all again, then that's a lapse. That's a mess up. And you just stay, you're going to have some cravings, you're going to need your herbs again, or whatever tactics you used to stay clean for the first month, yes. But it's not going to be as hard as it was then. So that's a lapse. If you go back and then you go, oh, well, I've messed up now, so I might as well just go back to my old ways, or you just slip back in your old ways, then that's a relapse. So there's a difference between a lapse and a relapse. And so you may lapse in these 5 stages. Try not to, but if you do, it's not the end of the world. It means that you've lapsed and you've slipped back a stage or 2. Yeah, you haven't. You know, even if the month, if you use for the first month, you use every day normally, and then you only used once a week, it's going to make that month last a little bit longer. You're going to keep pushing for the month, but eventually you're going to get to stage 2. So I hope that's made things a bit clearer. As I say, I wrote the book, Stop Using Crack Cocaine and Reclaim Your Life. You can buy online, very cheap. I also worked with men and women pioneering services really here in Britain in the 90s mainly. And so I wrote a book on how to work with women. So that's the professionals, how to work with women. And it covers the stages as well there, and how to work with men. The women's one is Women and Crack Responding to Need. Positive steps to help break women's cycle of addiction, crack cocaine. And it doesn't matter, even if he was on speed, amphetamine, it's the same process. Positive steps to help him break cycles of addiction to crack cocaine. This is for men and crack uncovered. So these are the 3 books that I've done on drugs. If you still like reading my books. Then I've got Sex and Drugs and Rabbit Holes. That's about mind control, and it's not really drugs. It's they're all connected. The drug industry, the child trafficking industry, and weapons, they're the main industries that run the world. And then I wrote a load of poems because I find that helps. So that's Insight into Darkness, Poetic Truths. I'm just letting you know that these are my books that exist. So I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And 2018 should be a drug-free year for all of you. You've got no excuse now because I've done this video for you. So I wish you all well and success. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.